This week, I received an email from the SBA, Small Business Administration Office of Advocacy. I wanted to share with you the email, which was, well, the advocacy of the Small Business Administration is the voice of small business in government. And what I was sent was frequently asked questions about small business. And I want to share that information with you because it really sets the stage of how important it is to start a new business today. Small businesses comprise what share of the U.S. economy? Small businesses make up 99.7% of U.S. employer firms, 64% of net new private sector jobs, 64%. That figure is so very important today because you heard me say in the last segment that there were only 96,000 new jobs created in the month of August. And that's not nearly enough new jobs being created. Why are existing businesses, not creating new jobs? And there's two very basic reasons why they are not. Number one, when small businesses or large businesses laid folks off in the last 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years, they were then forced to take the employees who are not laid off and do the same thing with their businesses, create more productivity, create equal to or more productivity with less folks, with less people. Many were successful in doing that. And that's not a bad thing for the business. It's a good thing for the business. It's a bad thing for those folks who lost their jobs and are not going to get those jobs back as quickly. They might get them back down the road, but if the company was able to provide new productivity with less employees, they're not going to be hiring back more employees. To that point, a very good statistic came out this week about business, that business productivity increased by 2%. So my theory holds true. It's not my theory, it's my thoughts. There is new productivity with existing businesses. So they're not going to create jobs or create new jobs as quickly. More reason for you, if you're looking for a job or if you want a new job, to start a business today and create job number one and take control of your job, because you are determining the success and the growth of that particular job. Okay, 49.2% of private sector employment comes from small businesses. 46% of private sector I'm going to just continue because it just goes on and on how important small business is in our economy. How many small businesses are there? This is a great question because I don't think it's an accurate answer, but the answer to the question was in 2010, there were 27.9 million small businesses and 18,500 firms with 500 employees or more. Over 3/4 of small businesses were non-employers. This number has trended up over the past decade while employees have been relatively flat. Employers have been relatively flat. 5 years ago, I shared with you, if you had been following me 5 years, well, you couldn't have followed me 5 years ago, 4 years ago. You could start following me. This Thanksgiving weekend will be my 4th anniversary of broadcasting live at stickham.com, and I am happy and honored to say that more than 2 million page views have happened in our community in the last 4 years. So if you're one of those, thank you. If you're a first-timer viewing today, thank you again. And if you're interested in small business, growing an existing business, or starting a new one, this is the place to be. We will provide you with the resource, well, not necessarily provide them, but let you know where the resources are available for you. We will provide social marketing and social network technology better than any other community that exists today. Okay, what is a small business? Good question. The Office of Advocacy defines a small business as an independent business having fewer than 500 employees. For the small business definition by industry used in government programs and contracting, go to sba.gov, search for small business, put the word small business in, or what is a small business, and you will get more information. What % of small businesses operate as home-based businesses? 52%. Franchise businesses, 2%. If you're not familiar with a franchise, well, you're all familiar with franchise, might not be familiar with the business concept, but probably the most recognizable franchise is McDonald's. And we all know what McDonald's is. They serve billions and billions of hamburgers every day, or every year, or I don't know, every moment. I don't know what it is. Incidentally, digressing for a moment, the finest McDonald's I have ever been in was in Rome. Much different than any McDonald's in the United States. I actually got a hamburger in this McDonald's, and they're like that all over Rome or all over Italy. It was as good as any hamburger I've ever eaten. And it's put on a fancy bun, and it was amazing that McDonald's, as a franchisor, was smart enough to allow their Italian franchisees to do, basically what they wanted to do. And the lines were long. I visited 2 different ones in Italy. And the lines were very long at both of them, and it was a different quality of food. Okay, franchise, the concept. It's a proven business concept because somebody has developed a business idea, and in order to grow that business, they have chosen to go the franchise route. To be a franchise, you have to have a very thick explanation of what your franchise is, what it is going to do, and if somebody commits money to your franchise, they buy your franchise idea, what are the franchisor's obligations, what are the franchisee's obligations. It's a proven business concept, but it's not for everyone. And it'll work, and obviously it does work for a lot of folks. And 2% of the businesses in this country are franchises. The downside to a franchise, there's two downsides like right off the top of my head. First and foremost, that you have to do exactly what that franchisor tells you to do. You cannot deviate from that. And that's okay because it's a proven idea, but it's not okay if you're a free-thinking, want to do it my way kind of individual. You can't. You have to do it the way the franchisor says you have to do it. And the other thing is the amount of dollars that needed to be invested into a franchise. It can be as little as probably $100 to multi-million dollars to buy into a franchise. I don't know what it costs to buy a McDonald's franchise today, even if they are available. I know that you have to have more than $1 million of assets to even buy into a McDonald's, so I'm not quite sure what that number is. But anyway, it's a proven business model that works for at least 2% of small businesses in this country, and it may or not work for you. If you're interested in the franchise concept, I recommend a magazine called Entrepreneur Magazine. Here's a copy of the magazine, and I get it as many as I can. In this edition, it's a year old now, but it doesn't change much. The concepts: 50 plus new business opportunities. Launch your company this weekend. They always will list, and here's their franchise listing. And they actually tell you about the franchise, what it costs to invest in it. If you're interested in that concept, get this magazine, read it, understand it. Not just for franchising, it's a great magazine that I read regularly, and I get an email from them regularly, and I quote from them regularly. Okay, franchise. Sole proprietors, 73.2%, the largest number by far. Now, there's another number. I actually started my businesses as a sole proprietor. And there's a legal definition to sole proprietor. I'm not going to discuss it right now. I am going to discuss it in one of the later modules, either this coming week or the following week. But it's a designation, and it's a legal designation. If you want to find out about it right now, once again, go to sba.gov and search for sole proprietor, or go to Google and search for sole proprietor, and you'll get as much information as you need. 19.5% of corporations. We're going to talk about, as I said, later, either this week or next, the difference between a sole proprietor and a corporation. An employer business, 21.5%. A non-employer, or a business without employees, as mine is 78.5% of the small businesses in this country. Okay, this is a critical question that is played itself out this week. What is small businesses' share of net new jobs? Small firms accounted for 64% of the net new jobs created between 1993 and 2011, or 11.8 million of the 18.5 million net new jobs came from small businesses. Since the latest recession, the R word, you believe in the R word, well, you can believe in the R word, but life goes on. From mid-2009 to 2011, small firms led by the larger ones in the category, 20 to 499 employees, accounted for 60% of the net new jobs. Back to, this reminded me of another reason why small businesses today, small businesses that exist, that may be very successful, I told you one reason why they're not creating new jobs is because they found new productivities in fewer employees. They found greater productivity. They found 2% more productivity with fewer employees. So why would you create a new job right away? The other reason for not new jobs being created from existing small businesses is the cost of creating that new job. With the majority of that cost coming from things such as healthcare, providing healthcare. When you apply for a job, when you're looking for a job, probably one of the most important questions that you have is, do you provide healthcare? And I don't need to tell anybody listening right now what a mess this country is in with its healthcare. And it is so extremely difficult for small businesses to continue to provide health care for their employees. Beginning in 2014, less than 2 years away, if a small business has more than 50 employees, they will be mandated to provide health care for their employees. Mandated. And the crazy thing about that is we don't even know what the cost of that insurance is going to be today. We don't know what that cost is going to be. Yet if a small business has more than 50 employees, they're going to have to provide the health care. They don't know what it's going to cost them. And if they don't provide the health care, they will get penalized. We don't know what the penalties are going to be. It'll be interesting to see if the penalty for not providing health care, and it's on a per employee basis, if the penalty is less than providing the health care that is mandated, they'll take the penalty. It's a lesser cost to them. Now, putting that into perspective, how many businesses will want to be over 49 employees, and how many businesses will want to be less than 50 employees? Put that into perspective, and it's going to create another dynamic that we don't even know what the impact is going to be. Ooh, great question. Do the unemployed become self-employed? Let's see what the answer by the SBA is. When finding work is difficult, starting a business can be as difficult, if not more so. It's not easy to start a business, but it doesn't have to be a complicated process. We've simplified the process in David's Barter. I've started a half a dozen or a dozen new businesses in the last year and a half through the social marketing, social technology, social network technology, and it doesn't have to be a complicated. It becomes complicated when you make it complicated. Start simple. Start very simple, and see where your business idea can grow. And if you need to add employees to grow your business, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, because you can't do it all yourself. I made the decision back in 1979, you heard me tell the story earlier, that I was going to discontinue a business that I had started, and in its 11 months it was profitable. What was I going to do in the future if I wanted to start a business and grow it? Well, the answer to that question is simple. If I can't do the job myself, or if it's inefficient, if I can't just because of my skill set, or it's inefficient for me to take time to do something that I'm not very skilled in, I will outsource that task to a business. I don't outsource beyond the borders of the United States, which is a big argument right now, that many jobs have been lost, many U.S. jobs have been lost to China, to India, to wherever in the world where labor is cheaper than it is in the United States. It's a vicious circle, my friends, a vicious circle. We remember the days when Walmart, the target of many folks' frustrations, when Walmart was started, it was started with the business idea. Sam Walton started the company with the idea that he wanted to provide the best price available for the products that were sold in his store. And when they first started growing, we saw the campaign that they ran very effectively, made in the USA. They were one of the very first companies to really promote made in the USA. But what happened in time? When they found a cheaper way to manufacture that product so that it could be sold at the best price available, they had to leave. They made the business decision to leave the company, to leave the country, to buy their products. They went to China, where labor was very, very cheap. And now Walmart, as a company, is the third largest buyer of Chinese products, with the, and maybe they're even the largest, or maybe second or first. They buy more Chinese products as a company than countries do. It's not that Walmart doesn't want to buy products manufactured in the United States. In order for them to keep Sam Walton's promise, they had to buy a product as cheaply as they could buy it, so that they could sell it as cheaply as they wanted to sell it. That's a vicious circle, and business decisions were made, and unfortunately, some U.S. manufacturers of those products lost out. But once again, that's one of the challenges of business. One of the challenges of business. How to most efficiently buy and sell your product and or your services, whatever it is that you decide. Okay, when finding work is difficult, starting a business can be just as difficult, if not more so. But in March 2011, a significant number of self-employed, 5.5%, or about 900,000, had been unemployed in the previous year. This figure was up from March 2006 and March 2001. More folks are unemployed, the number of folks. I contend that a viable solution to that problem, to that challenge, is to start a business and create that job for yourself. Because any entrepreneur starting a business, job number one is what that entrepreneur is going to do to make that business idea happen. Which businesses create more jobs, startups or existing businesses? Well, we know the answer to that question, but I'm going to read it to you. In the last 2 decades, and I'm reading from the SBA Office of Advocacy, in the last 2 decades, about 60% of the private sector's net new jobs have been created by existing establishments, and about 40% from the churn of startups minus closures. While firm births account for many new jobs, job losses from firm closures are equally important in accounting for net effects to unemployment levels. Today, startups are creating more new jobs. Maybe not net, but relative to the new job creation, it's coming from new business startups. Always has and always will. What happens to the jobs created by startups? The total employment from a group of startups is highest at birth and declines as the firms age. Put another way, employment gains from growing businesses are less than employment declines from shrinking and closing businesses. What is the status of the startup market? While the number of new employer businesses has recovered from the recessionary dip, the average employment of those businesses have been declining over the past decade. Women are owning more businesses now than ever before, so it's not necessarily a gender thing. Minorities are owning more businesses than ever before, so that is a major concern. Uh, veterans, um, veteran-owned businesses, that's a new dynamic that is having a greater impact than, well, the only the only time when it had a bigger impact was just after the war, and new businesses were hiring back the military folks, or military folks returning or starting new businesses. Uh, that kind of thing is always in play. But what the SBA did, announced just in the last 3 months, they announced that they were providing more resources for veterans of the military. So they recognize the impact of those returning veterans of the military and how important that demographic could potentially be in new business startups. And that's a dynamic, that's a factor that we're watching very closely. What are the home-based business trends? The share of firms that primarily operate out of the home was unchanged from 2002 to 2007 at 52%, which is the latest figure available. Employers had a lower share than non-employers, 24% versus 63% respectively in 2007. Of the major industries, construction had the highest number of home-based businesses, 70%. Being home-based is not synonymous with working at home. So says the SBA. It is interesting to note that retail trade went from 49% home-based in 2002 to 44% in 2007, while the share of internet retail sales went from 1% to 3%. And that's major. Certainly an important factor when starting a business in David's Barter community, because we are online. It's not to say that you can't be online and offline, but having an offline business, a retail business where you have a storefront, where you have people visiting your store, it takes greater resources to start that kind of business. Not that you shouldn't do it, but if you've got the resources available to do it, and that's your passion, then it's important for you to take that consideration. But the fact here is that a business can be started from the home more efficiently and in a much more simple fashion than if you have to go outside of your home. Now, the demands and challenges of starting a business in your home are great. You certainly have to have the support of everybody living in that home to start a business in your home. And that's a tough thing for some families to come to grip with. But if you're going to start a business in your home, you need to have the support of everybody, or most everybody living in the home, so that that business can start properly and grow efficiently. How does franchise survival compare? We'll get into that at a later time. Taxes, not important at this point in time, although we do know that both political candidates for president are, not only are they needing to address the needs of small business, but they have to. If we're going to get these unemployment figures, if we're going to get people working again and new jobs creating, there has to be changes in laws that are disadvantageous to small businesses, or the businesses are not going to grow and not going to create new jobs. There are definitely more tax advantages in starting a business than there are in an existing business who has to deal with the tax structure. as it is in the growth of their business. So take advantage of those, and take advantage of those by starting a business, and also starting a business in your home. When you are able to start a business in your home, you are able to take advantage of some tax situations that are extremely important to you, the individual, when you file that tax return. Believe me, I've been doing it for. I've never operated outside of the home with my small business. Always have been in the home, and so there's definitely advantages of operating that way, and there's disadvantages, but you have to do what's best for yourself, and it's always best for yourself to have the support of your family and friends as you're starting a business. We're going to take a brief break here and come back with a final segment. And while you're waiting, go to davidsbarter.com and register to become a member of the community. Start to create your complimentary community marketing profile and start your registration process for the 10,000 entrepreneurs who will be able to start a business complimentary. While our social marketing and social network technology of the community will be complimentary for 50 days, so you can test our social marketing, social network technology, and see if you can make it work for you as we have made it work for us.